Hello, everybody. This is Gary. Today is September 19th, 2021, Sunday. It's 7:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States in Rochester, New York. And this is my coping with schizophrenia update. I'm doing pretty good today. It's been a quiet day. Um, my anxiety levels are pretty high. My hallucinations aren't that bad. My delusions aren't that bad. I'm feeling a little bit paranoid. Um, to some extent, I think people are spying on me, plotting against me. But that's always with me to some extent. It's not that bad. Um, I think my rational mind is still in control. To calm myself down, I did take my evening Zyprexa and I took a half milligram of Klonopin to try to control my anxiety. Um, I'm meeting with my psychiatrist on September 30th. We will be discussing my medications and what we're going to do with my Klonopin. We are planning to end my Klonopin on September 30th, but I'm going to ask my psychiatrist to extend it beyond September 30th. He's going to be going on vacation in October, which means if I have an emergency that I have to contact somebody at my clinic, it'll have to be a backup psychiatrist. I'm not sure how long my psychiatrist is going to be on vacation in October. I didn't ask him specifically how long he was going to be gone. And with him being gone, I think it might be a bad idea to end my use of Klonopin. I'm going to ask him to extend the use of the Klonopin. Right now, I'm allowed half a milligram per day, which is a pretty low dose. Um, this is to avoid psychological dependence and physical addiction, which I'm aware of the possibility of. I want to be very careful about using Klonopin because it is a benzodiazepine drug, and benzodiazepine drugs can be addictive, and this includes things like Librium, Valium, Xanax, Ativan, as well as Klonopin. Um, I think I'm under a relatively stressful situation still. Um, Less stressful than 2 or 3 months ago when I was going through a lot of medical problems. I was wearing for about 4 months a urinary catheter into my bladder connected to a urinary leg bag. I was unable to pass urine on my own for about 4 months. So I was under a lot of stress. And on top of that was the COVID-19 restrictions across the country, as well as here in Rochester, New York, which caused a lot of people, including myself, to be isolated, which can cause anxiety, stress, depression, loneliness, which is true whether you're mentally ill or not to begin with. Being isolated by COVID 19 was very stressful for a lot of people, not just me. Um, but I still feel myself under a lot of stress. I find myself, for some reason, thinking a lot about politics and the state of the United States. The past year and a half to 2 years has been pretty stressful in the United States. We've had riots, terrible violence going on in our country, a political divide between the far left and the far right. Seems like the political center is disappearing, which I think is dangerous for the United States. I consider myself to be somewhere in the political center. I'm somewhat scared by the far right and the far left in the political spectrum. Um, I just worried as an American citizen about where our country's headed. Um, I just don't like what I see, and I think a lot of Americans don't like what they see happening to this country. too much violence, too much division, too much anger, too much acrimony. And this kind of stress can aggravate a person's mental illness. Maybe I watch too much news. I don't know. Maybe I watch too much political stuff online. Maybe I aggravate myself too much. I don't want to live in a fantasy world where I ignore the news, where I ignore current events. But I guess I also don't want to drown myself in news and politics to stress myself out. I want to know what's going on in the world, but I also don't want to be obsessed with the news, obsessed with the things that are happening politically. Um, like everybody in the United States, I have to face some political realities that are structural on a personal level. Um, one being inflation. Like everybody else, I have to pay rent. I have to pay food for food. I have to pay for my telephone bill. I have to pay for my utility bills. And inflation is going up in the United States. Everything is costing more. Food, money, rent. I don't own a car. Don't have a desire to own a car. But for those who do have a car or a truck or a vehicle of some kind, gas prices are going up. Prices of cars are going up. Um, I personally use public transportation. I did have a driver's license, but since I don't drive a car, and when it was 4 years ago, when it was time to renew my license, the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles wanted over $100 to renew my driver's license. And since I wasn't driving anyways, I just decided to get a $10 non-driver's license ID card. So I voluntarily gave up my driver's license, which made absolutely no difference in my life because I don't drive anyways. Not that I didn't try to drive. Um, my father's sister died and left me some money. I bought a car for $1,000 in cash. It was a piece of junk. It was too expensive to maintain it. And I wasn't very good at driving it anyways. I almost got into an accident. So I donated the car to the Kidney Foundation of America. Got a $600 tax credit for donating the car. But it was costing hundreds of dollars to repair it constantly. And I wasn't a very good driver, especially because I'm on psychiatric meds, which make me drowsy. I'm lucky I didn't get myself killed trying to drive a car, so I just said, fuck it, there's no point in trying to drive a car, especially when I'm on psychiatric medications. Um, it just wasn't practical for me to own a car or drive a car. It was the first time and the only time that I ever owned a car and how to drive it. It was too complicated. The auto insurance, the medications I'm on, the repair bills, and I don't know anything myself about fixing cars. I don't even know how to change a freaking tire. So owning a car for me was not practical in any sense. Um, Anybody else out there who's on psychiatric medications, if those medications make you drowsy in any way, or they cause you to be less than fully alert, driving a car may be a very bad idea. It's illegal, of course, to drive under the influence of drugs. It's illegal to drive under the influence of cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, um, and psychiatric drugs, while perfectly legal, can be just as dangerous while you're driving a car as if you're driving under the influence of alcohol or some other illegal substance, especially with a drug like Klonopin. Um, at the time that I was trying to drive a car, I was on Klonopin with a different doctor who actually wasn't even a psychiatrist. I was living in a rural area and there were no psychiatrists available, so my primary care doctor was prescribing me Klonopin, and I think I was on 2 milligrams a day, which is 4 times what I'm taking now. And I was trying to drive a car, and that was a stupid thing to do. I did not get into an accident, but it's a miracle I didn't. Um, so for me, under psychiatric medications, driving cars is a dangerous thing to do. And I would say anybody out there who's on psychiatric drugs that make them drowsy and less alert, you might want to decide not to drive a car at all. Um, I'm on some very powerful psychiatric drugs, not just the Klonopin, but the Seroquel. I'm on 600 milligrams of Seroquel every night. And although I take it at night and it helps me fall asleep and I sleep most of it off, it still has effect on me 24 hours a day. So the Seroquel by itself is another reason for me not to drive a car. Um, it's very impractical for me to drive a car. I do have a bicycle, um, and even on a bicycle, I have to be as alert as possible because I have to pay attention to the traffic if I'm riding my bike in the street or if I'm riding my bike on the sidewalk. I still have to be alert of pedestrians around me, cars driving by me. Um, but I think I can handle driving or riding a bicycle at least. And besides, it's good exercise. Um, Certainly better exercise than driving a car. Um, I'm back to not smoking cigarettes. I was smoking cigarettes up until yesterday about noon. I'm back on nicotine lozenges, um, 4 milligram lozenges. I'm allowed to take one every hour, but I want to, of course, gradually reduce my addiction to nicotine so I can get off nicotine altogether and not just get off cigarettes, but get off nicotine addiction altogether, which will probably take a few more weeks. Hopefully, I won't take up smoking again. I have taken up smoking over the past 8 weeks. I've quit for 4.5 weeks, went back into smoking, quit again, went back into smoking, and now I'm quitting again. I'm still struggling with addiction in that sense. Um, it's weird because if you're addicted to alcohol or heroin or cocaine or fentanyl or Oxycontin, there are rehab centers that you can go to that are inpatient that will let you get off drugs, dry out, go through withdrawal. But with nicotine addiction, the most I can do is go to my doctor, in this case, my psychiatrist, get nicotine lozenges prescribed, and then the quitting part is up to me on an outpatient basis. I'm kind of on my own. I either smoke or I don't smoke. Um, there's no in between for me. I can gradually reduce my cigarettes. Every time I try to gradually reduce my cigarettes, I just end up smoking more. So the only option for me, if even if I'm going to use nicotine lozenges, is that I have to stop smoking abruptly and stay off cigarettes. There's no in between. And like I said, there's no inpatient treatment for nicotine addiction. It's something that you have to do completely outpatient. There's certainly support programs, therapists, counselors, all kinds of things that can help you on an outpatient basis. But there's no such thing as an inpatient rehab for people who smoke tobacco, at least not as far as I'm aware of. Certainly not in Rochester, New York. So I'm back to trying to quit. The reason I want to quit smoking is because I smoked just in the past 4 days like 4 packs of cigarettes, which is 2 packs a day. I was chain smoking one cigarette after another, which tends to happen when I'm under a lot of stress. I'm preoccupied with health problems that may not actually even exist. Maybe I'm being a bit of a hypochondriac. Um, so I got a lot of anxiety running through my mind about medical problems that I probably don't even actually have. Um, so that's all pretty much that's going on with me for now. Um, it's 7:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Rochester, New York. Like, comment, share, subscribe, press the notifications bell. If you want to know when I put out a new video, leave comments in the comments section. If you want me to do a video on a particular topic, let me know. That's all for now.